Hello and welcome to Angry Andy Reviews, and this is my review for House of the Dragon Season 2, Episode 5.
Angry Andy.
Angry Andy Reviews.
Angry Andy. Angry Andy.
Angry Andy Reviews.
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 Don't make me destroy you.
So, Episode 5. I'm going to pre-warn you there will be spoilers here throughout, but there is a lot that's happened in this episode, and it trades in, to be honest with you, it trades in all aspects of action. So last week we had this incredible over-the-top, ridiculous action sequence and episode, and this week it's all about the political reshuffling, the repositioning of the characters, the realization that they've lost the most powerful dragon, their biggest dragon. It's all about counting the losses and restructuring. Massive amounts of dense politics, but it's still fucking great, isn't it? Let's be honest. It's just impeccable writing and characterization from the off once again. And there's so much that happens in this episode. It's really impossible for me to sort of narrow down everything. But in broad strokes, we head to King's Landing and they're parading the head of the fallen dragon melees. And quite simply, Kristen Cole's like, hey, we won, but nobody's cheering, nobody's doing everything. Everybody's fucking shocked by the sight of this beheaded dragon being carted through the city. And along with that, there is a small box with no fanfare at all on it whatsoever, and that turns out to be King Aegon, who is completely fucking ruined. He's absolutely ruined. He gets brought in, and we see the Grand Maester and his mother attending to him and the peeling off this armor. It's grim. It's really, really grim, but it's fantastic. So he has survived, which I think we all bloody knew would be the case, to be honest. But yes, he survived. It seems his dragon didn't. I think that's a bit of a turn away from what happens in the books, but again, I don't think there's anything being clearly said about it. And we move on, and Prince Aemond is glowering over this bed. I fucking love Aemond. I really do love Aemond. He's got this wry sort of smirk to the side of his face that nobody seems to notice. And obviously the impact of his gaze with just the one eye, he's side-eyeing everything. It's perfect. It's really, really perfect characterization. And the issue here is the king is out of action. So who's going to rule the realm? There is a brilliant scene where Alicent is sat at the table and all these other lords, Valeris, I think it is. I can't remember some of these side characters' names. That's still a bit of an issue for me that I can't remember some of these side character names. But they're all there. The king's table's all there. They're all discussing things. And all of them, including Kristen Cole, surprisingly, agree that Aemond should be the one to take charge in regency over the realm and guide the war. There is a brilliant, brilliant, brilliant shot where Alicent realizes that she's just completely left out in the cold. And there's a theme in this episode as well. She's left out in the cold and the camera focuses on her, and it's a good minute-long shot where the camera's just focused on her and all the other sounds drown out apart from Aemond's voice, and his voice is piercing through her, and she's listening intently to everything that he's saying, realizing potentially what he's done and his issues and the threat of him maybe. It's brilliant. Some wonderful acting with just the use of expressions. She doesn't say anything after she sits down and realizes that she's lost out to Aemond. She doesn't say anything. It's all reaction. It's brilliant. It's really well done. We move on from there. Obviously, the rat catchers get pulled down. Aemond goes, cut down those fucking rat catchers. Brilliant. Kristen Cole's angry. He's completely destroyed by the fact that he's lost 900 men to a battle which is nothing more than a Pyrrhic victory, really. Massive, huge losses on all sides. The king, going down, and he describes the hauntingness of that battle at Rook's Rest. So we move on from there. We go to Harrenhal, where Daemon's just, I don't know what's going on with him. There's some creepy ass shit going on. He's being haunted by the ghost of Harrenhal, it seems. He keeps having these weird visions, and one of these weird visions is that of his mother. I'm not going to go into too much details, but all I can tell you is there's a lot of people that ain't happy with what you get shown in this vision. It's all about his mother. Come on, there's been incest rife throughout this series and Game of Thrones as well. Why is this so fucking different? The very first episode of Game of Thrones, we had Jaime Lannister and Cersei having a good go at each other at the top of a fucking tower. Get a grip. But here we go. It's old Daemon yet again. He's trying to rustle up this army for himself, potentially, and it doesn't seem to be going well. He sends off one of his goon squad to go and do some work to bring in this group of people who are quite frankly just like, nah, we'll rather burn to death than join you, you cunt. And it all goes fucking wrong. A load of people turn up, a load of lords from the Riverlands, and say, nah, fuck you. You sent your guys who are now raping and pillaging and burning fucking everything. Fuck you. We're not bending the knee. What that means to Rhaenyra, who the fuck knows? But there is still much more going on here with Daemon. Again, I've got to be honest with you, I don't know much about the books, so I don't know where his story tracks or how well it's linking towards it. But suffice to say, we go to Dragonstone and it's all dour and misery, obviously, with Rhaenys and Meleys gone. Her husband is absolutely dishevelled. He's half the man that we've seen him before previously, and he doesn't know what to do with himself. But Rhaenyra, obviously realizes that she needs all the allies she gets, and she offers him, via his granddaughter, the hand of the king brooch. So we'll have to see what happens there, whether he accepts that. But Rhaenyra, she is still suffering and struggling to manage these lords who just seem intent on undermining her position. She's really, weirdly enough, she doesn't seem to have as much power or as grip as she did in the first season. She doesn't seem to have that strength that we saw in the first season. Obviously, I think that's playing into the fact that she wants to take a steady approach. But again, the theme here is that the men in this episode seem to be, pressing the advantage over all these women characters, these female characters. So the definitely theme is here that women don't know anything about war, so they should shut up and sit down. And that's what we get with Alicent. She quite literally shuts up and sits down. And Rhaenyra here seems to be somewhat the opposite. She's trying to be open and honest with the lords that are there, explaining to them. And she even says in one scene where she's talking to this spy lady, I can't remember her name again, and she says, well, I don't know anything about war. I wasn't taught anything about war. So, it's no surprise, really. There's an interesting sort of dynamic here where I think both Alicent and maybe Rhaenyra will slowly start to consolidate power and become much more impactful against all these other men of the realm. I certainly hope so anyway, because both of these characters are fucking brilliant. I think it's just an interesting point of this show that they are being pushed into these positions where they seemingly have no control, and they're going to have to find new ways to get around these men who are all just about swords and glory. Quite simply, Rhaenyra doesn't want to destroy everything. That's the whole point. She wants to unite the realm. She wants to be the queen and rule from there. But obviously, when she's got lords and daemon who are intent on fucking wiping everything out, that's where the difficulties lie. And fundamentally, that's where it is. That's where the episode lies. We do see, I think it's Jason, Rhaenyra's son, goes to the twins and goes, oh, we want this. What do you want? And they're like, we want Harrenhal. And he goes, well, sure, if you bend the knee. And then we're left with that. So we'll have to see how this comes to it. But we know the importance of the twins, obviously, with the phrase. We remember seeing them in Game of Thrones and how much of a massive impact these almost nothing burger people had on the future of the realm. And I wonder if that will play into a big factor here as well. Twins is such a wonderful, unique looking place. Obviously, we spend a bit of time at the Eyrie as well, where it seems that Rhaenyra is slowly starting to bring in these people, and it's the help of her nieces, nephew, her sons, all doing their part to bring in, some level of force that they can use against Criston Cole and Vhagar. And with that, at the end of the episode, we have this sort of conflict where Rhaenyra is sort of saying, well, we can't fight Vhagar. He's too fucking big. What are we going to do against Daemon and Vhagar? And her and her son realise that they do have more dragons. They've got Vermithor, and I can't remember the other one. But there's two dragons there with no riders. So they have this collective thought, well, maybe, just maybe, make a tap in to the ancestors. So all those sons and daughters that were palmed off generations ago to interwed and to marry. I wonder if there's any sort of, nephews and nieces and far second cousins far removed that can ride these dragons to boost their numbers, because obviously it seems that'd be the only way to take Vagar out, pure numbers. But we'll have to see what happens. And that is the episode. It's, like I said, it's a very politically driven episode. It's very long in terms of dialogue. There's a lot of deep character moments where they are discussing, how they're going to win this war or attempt to win this war, or at least even it out. No one seems to be on the front foot with this war. In terms of positions, you could argue Kristen Cole and his men are in a better position, but they've just lost 900 men in one battle, a battle which really amounted to nothing, because Rook's Rest is nothing. It's a strategically unimportant area. It's almost like taking a hill over there when the main battle's over there. It's pointless. It's absolutely pointless. It was a Pyrrhic victory. So it's interesting to see in this episode a complete juxtaposition to the previous episode where we saw all and out war, and this episode is the ramifications of war, the restructuring. The cinematography is, as it always is perfect. The lighting is superb. The writing is just pinpoint perfect throughout. There's not a single moment in this episode where you're left questioning anything. You're left going, oh, that didn't quite hit right. Everything is on note throughout, and it's no surprise this series is just, taken off completely and almost replaced Game of Thrones in what was a poor end to that. So I guess we should be thankful, really, shouldn't we? But like I said, a much more character-driven episode, a much more dialogue-driven episode, dealing into those harder, more difficult elements of strategy and plotting and planning. There is a lot going on beneath the surface. It might need another watch, to be quite honest with you. But there you go, a really good episode. Not quite as fucking mind-bogglingly insane as the previous episode, but it's still a great episode. It's just thoroughly entertaining, even when people are just fucking talking. And that's the mark of a great series for me. That's the mark of a great series. So, for me, this episode, I will happily give this episode a solid 8 out of 10. Yes, I'm intrigued to see where it all goes. I think there are a lot of great characters in this series that are really starting to ramp up. And like I said, I don't know anything about the book. I haven't read it. I plan to read it, but I think I'll wait until this series is finished in its completion, and then we'll go from there. But I'm interested to see where all these characters go. I've got no basis for anything. I don't know what's going to happen. I'm quite happy to leave it that way for the time being. So yeah, 8 out of 10 for this episode. What are your thoughts? Let me know in the comments section down below. What do you think about this series so far? Where does it rank for you against Game of Thrones, against other TV shows that are out at the moment? Let me know your thoughts in the comment section down below. Are you excited to see what happens? Do you know what's coming? Don't spoil it for anybody else though. But again, please do like this video, subscribe to the channel for more reviews like this, and I will see you in the next one. Bye bye.